Welcome to Tanked Up, the podcast all about video games and craft beer. I'm Ben. I'm here this week with Lucy.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello.
And
I'm excited.
I'm excited. And we've got a special guest with us this week, Mr. Carl Marshall, better known as the bearded one everywhere, I'd assume,
Yes.
Twitter and all of those sort of social media places. But coming to us from, where are you coming from? Is it Coventry? Oh. Not coming to us from anywhere.
No.
Just about here.
All right. Perfect intro.
There we go. Tanked Up
Very,
Technical
very
Issues.
Yes.
Kicking in as usual. Carl, you're from Twisted Barrel Ale.
Yes, I am. In Coventry.
Yes.
Yes, good. And you're joining us this week to talk about video games and drink some beers. So, let's drink some beers. Carl, what are you going to drink first?
Wow. I've got 3 beers. So let's start with Second Shift Brewing. Czech style Pilsner.
Okay.
Second Shift Brewing, a brewery based over in St. Louis, over in America.
No, I wonder
I've had a couple of their beers before.
Mm-hmm.
I was lucky enough that one of my friends went over there and managed to bring back a couple of cans with me.
Nice.
So, but I haven't had this beer before. So I'm quite interested to see if they can actually do Pilsen as well.
Yeah. Pretty.
Yeah.
So you can already tell he's a pro. I mean, for the listeners, we never pour it on camera. We just
No.
do it on camera, like cavemen, and just it's yellow, and that's it. Not professional here today.
Pouring it, you got a nice big head on there as well. Looks very clean and clear. If my glass is cleaned well enough. But yeah, this is called Technical Ecstasy. Like I said, it's from Second Shift Brewing over in America. The side of the can, it says brewed with Bohemian Pils malt, SARS hops. Technical Ecstasy pours a stunning hazy straw colour with an enormous dense white head, the hallmark of a fresh Pilsner. The hops' floral, slightly spicy aroma immediately lures you in. The medium-bodied mouthfeel produces soft, crackery maltness, immediately followed by a spicy, slightly grassy note. It's 0.4%. And also, it says on the side, for a good time, call 314-325. So I have no idea what that means.
We just need the area code.
Yeah. And I won't be calling it later either. But pouring really, really nicely out the can.
Nice.
And it's pretty much doing what it says.
Yeah, completely, just by the looks of it, yeah.
It looks it has got that very, very slight haze to it, but it looks really translucent. From the description on the can saying it was hazy, sort of when you poured it, it looks really sort of quite clear, really. At least on the screen back to us.
Yeah, I'd agree. I can see
my hand through
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh well, can't get every description right, can you, brewers? It's Lucy. What are you going to drink first?
I'm going to go overseas as well to Beerbliotek in Sweden.
Ooh.
Haven't had one of their beers in ages, so I decided to pick one up today. This is called We're Young, We Smell Good, and We're Alive, and it's number 244. I'm none of those things. I'm just about alive, but I'm dead inside. But it's an IPA. Here we go. The name of this beer was some sort of reference to how it should be consumed. But along the way, we forgot what it was. Otherwise, we would have written it here. All right.
Fair
Those
enough.
Swedes, such great humour. But what's the percentage? 6.2%. There's not really any flavour text or mention of hops or anything. So yeah, it's just an IPA, 6.2%.
Nice. I'm also drinking an IPA. I have picked up Orange Gobblin from Balck Iris Brewery. I haven't had a beer from these guys for ages. Haven't seen them in the bottle shop for ages. So thought I'd pick one up. It is only 4.8%, so slightly smaller than usual. They don't have much flavour text at all, apart from just saying ingredients: malted barley, wheat, oats, hops, yeast, water, and orange zest. So no idea what the hops are, but there's orange zest in it too. So there we go. Should get that one poured. Carl, I've seen you drinking, so we're going to come back to you, sir.
Yes.
You can tell us about your
straight on it.
About your beer.
Pretty much what it says on the tin, really. Very floral on the nose, very crisp tasting, slightly spicy on the mouth. Well, all of it. Very refreshing. Really a summer day's drink, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm drinking it when the sun's going down. The sun to be up, to be honest. But yeah, it's really, really fresh, and I can probably drink quite a few of them, especially at like 5%, 5.5%. It's very, it's a drinker.
Yeah.
It's one of the beers that you can pretty much session on, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Is it quite clean? As you say, it's crisp. So.
Yeah. There's a bit of more of a hoppy twang to it. Than what I would have expected. The malt doesn't really shine through as much as like traditional pilsners do, but to be perfectly fair, it suits the style quite well. It's very refreshing, easy to drink, full of spicy notes, but very floral on the nose. The heads, there's a lot of lacing on my glass still. It's pretty much staying there.
Yeah, because it poured it with quite a large head. Probably like 2 finger,
Yeah, it seems to have like dissipated quite quick, but it's actually staying around the glass. It's almost quite sticky as well. So maybe the sweetness from the malts is coming through the more that I drink it.
So it unveil itself a little more as you sort of become accustomed a little more to the flavour of it. Nice. Lucy?
Yes. It is a very good beer. As are most of the beers from Beerbliotek. It's got a really nice like orange aroma to it. It's like just mostly orange, but it's really powerful. It packs a punch. Drinking it, you're getting quite a lot of malt in it, to the point where it's almost like got a little spiciness to it. But it's got like a bit of backbone to it as well, and there's just a bit of like orange zest right at the end, with that bitterness, with that malt, that just makes it all balanced. And it's not too malty, it's not too bitter, it's not all the way fruity. It's just a really well balanced beer. But yeah, it's I wish I knew what actually hops that they put in there. I'm guessing it's probably like Citra, because you're getting a lot of orange, but yeah, it smells good. It looks good. It's a perfectly well-balanced IPA. This is one that you could easily knock back as well. Yeah, you're getting a lot of the orange, but it's just balanced so well with like a bit of sweetness from the malt, and you can taste the alcohol actually, because now that it's just going down, there's quite a warmness there, as I say, like the spiciness from that malt, and it's just sitting there, and it's warming at the same time. But yeah, it's a really good beer. I'm going to shut up so I can drink some more. How's yours, Ben?
It's a little bit odd. Didn't give me a huge amount on the nose. It's only 4.8%. All it tells me is that it is just an orange IPA. And I am getting a lot of orange. You get a lot of orange on the nose. You get that in the flavour. But that is kind of almost all there is, really. It does mellow very slightly out of that kind of sweeter orange into a a slightly sweeter malt, something maybe a little bit kind of biscuity almost in there as well, which just flows in a little bit after your your hit of orange. But it's kind of, I think, for a hit of orange, and it just being maybe that hit of orange, I'd like something that was maybe a bit more punchy, perhaps. It's kind of a little bit light. It's very wet as I'm sipping it. It's very kind of very light in the flavour, a little bit sort of not watery, but it's just very, very light, really light, and it's kind of got that nose to it where it's a little bit of citrus, a little bit of orange, but it's got a little bit of kind of dankness in the nose, but that doesn't really come through much in the flavour. I think that's why maybe I was expecting a little bit more of a hit when I actually drank it, and a little bit more of a bang in the flavour and the hops to come through a little bit more, because it just has that very slight note on the nose. It just sort of invites you to be like, yes, you're going to be hit with this. And I kind of just wasn't. It's very easy to drink, don't get me wrong. There's a really, really, really light bitterness towards the end, which lingers, and that's kind of maybe what is sticking around a little bit after that orange has gone, after that kind of that biscuity flavour has kind of disappeared as well. I can see it going down very swiftly, but
I mean,
seems to be just like sliding down my throat.
Like, honestly.
The more that I'm actually drinking it, the fizzier it's getting.
Really?
Yeah.
It's having like a little dance in my mouth at the minute. Definitely a party going on.
Yeah.
Nice.
We
Good.
need
Right.
to all go to St. Louis. Just an excuse to go.
Oh, actually, saying that, I've got a feeling that they're going to be distributing in the UK soon, so you might be able to get a hold of some.
Oh, nice. I mean, we're still going to St. Louis, though. That's cool.
Definitely. I heard the food's meant to be really good over there. So.
Wow.
Yeah, at least we can have some beers before we go, so we know what we're getting ourselves into then.
Yes. True.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. When we plan our great America trip to just tour around and get wasted for
2030.
We've got some time to plan. It's good. So let's move on, enjoy our beers, and talk about some video games. Carl, as our guest, normally we'd start with you with the topic that you're going to bring to us. But before we do, just give us a little bit about yourself. What you do, what you're doing at Twisted, what you do at Twisted Barrel, and maybe just a little bit of your gaming kind of loves. What you're doing currently in gaming, what you're playing, maybe.
Okay. Well, currently at Twisted Barrel, I'm a brewer there, so I basically look after all the beer, which isn't a bad job at all.
No,
not at all.
Hours tend to be quite long, so that kind of prohibits any kind of game time that I do have. I don't really play many games on my phone, so I'm pretty much restricted to playing on the PS4 when I do. And it always tends to be pretty fun, maybe party games, football games as well. There's an indie game that I'm pretty much obsessed with. Every time I drink, I play it with my partner, called Nippon Marathon. I don't know if you heard of it.
no.
What's it called? Sorry?
Nippon Marathon. Yeah, Nippon
Marathon.
is in Japan.
Japanese.
Yeah.
The name is familiar, but I don't think I've ever played it.
It's a bit like a Takeshi's Castle kind of game.
Oh my gosh! Okay, I'm going to need to download this now.
It's pretty amazing. So you've got like an obstacle course that you have to run through. You have to see if you can actually last the longest against your the person that you're playing.
Yeah.
And you just take it in turns. It's pretty much a never-ending game until people just get bored of it and fall over. There's like loads of different sub games in there as well with what is it, like trolley bowling. which is really weird. So basically, you push a trolley, a supermarket trolley, and then you just jump into it and see how many bowls you can knock down as well. So play that quite a lot. It's I've got a feeling I have to pay for it, but it's definitely on the independent ones as well.
Okay.
There's a Japanese game actually called Taiko no Tatsujin. The drum game,
yeah. Don't worry, we can't speak Japanese, and we every language. It's not just limited to Japanese on this.
We played that quite a bit because we were over in Japan for our honeymoon last year.
Oh, nice!
And got obsessed with it on the arcade.
Yeah.
So downloaded.
Do you have the drums as well?
No, unfortunately not. No. You have to just play it with the controller. The drums are quite expensive, and I think you can only get it for the Wii with the drums. You can't actually get it for the PS4 with the drums yet.
Yeah, I think you'd have to.
Other than that, play a lot of Pro Evo as well.
You're a pro guy, not
nice.
FIFA.
Good. Yeah. You can stay on the podcast.
Yeah, I think Pro's better than FIFA. Has been for some time.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's impressive.
I used to have FIFA on like Xbox 360 and stuff like that, but still prefer Pro Evo. What else? PS4. So whenever I go around to see him, he's always playing games. So he was in his Generation Zero, which is like you're like trapped on a Norwegian island. Loads of robots are coming to try and get you. That's what I can actually of it from around. I mean, I keep asking him what storyline is.
Yeah, that's really recent, isn't it?
Yeah, and it didn't come out to the best reviews. But I mean, if you're just killing robots with a friend, it can't be that bad, can it?
Exactly.
We were talking about Skynet before. So.
Well, he plays a lot of single player mode games, so he's quite happy to around shooting robots and like, walking around a Norwegian kind of ex-military base. So I'll let him do what he wants to do with that. I need to start playing Spider-Man a bit more. I got so far into that, and like I said, like work kind of took over a little bit.
Yeah.
So I haven't. It's a strange one as well. I think it kind of resonates a little bit with what you said last week with the gaming and that, like the quick short games. I found it quite hard to find a quick short game to sit down and just play. So like multiplayer games are quite but to sit down after a long day of work and kind of play Red Dead or anything like that, it's very full on. So
it is.
I find it very hard to stay in that kind of mode.
But Spider-Man's a good one to like just pick up and play, because I went back for the DLC probably a couple months, three months after I'd finished it, and it's practically like riding a bike. You just remember all those moves, and it did such a good job of teaching you that it's tool set, and it's like getting back on a bike as soon as you get back into it. So that's another one which you could probably pick up quite easily, and it is just such a relaxing, it's kind of by the numbers game, and it was like come home after work, just swing through the city for an hour, and that's it. There's no difficult learning curve getting back into
exactly.
it.
And with Spider-Man as well, like unlike something like Red Dead, which has just such a massive world to explore, and the missions are 20-25 minutes long to be able to actually go through and progress the story and things. Spider-Man felt sort of concise in the things that it was doing. So New York's not that massive. It's big enough, but it's not that massive. It's got a few things around the world for you to kind of go and do, especially if you've only got like 10 minutes and you're like, I just want to do something for 10 minutes and I don't really want to get into this. You just fucking swing around Manhattan or just
kill some
swinging around, kill some goons.
No, sorry, you don't kill in Spider-Man.
He definitely does kill them. Some
I mean,
of them
you
definitely die.
swing a drain pipe into somebody's head and not killing them. They're fine. They're getting up right after that.
I tried getting into Apex Legends as well.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that was way too difficult for me.
Yeah.
I still have no idea what the game's about or what you
No.
need to do.
Neither do I. I played it for half an hour and then deleted it off my hard drive because I was like, nah, this is not what I want to play.
And you never delete games off your hard drive, Lucy.
I know, that's how much I knew I wasn't going to go back to it.
Oh, I haven't tried it yet. It's like it's like the newest kind of like phenomenon in kind of gaming through sort of most circles. I don't know, it just didn't really appeal to me. And with having tried Call of Duty Blackout and that battle royale mode, it's just not kind of the game for me, really. And if I'm going to play if I'm going to play a first-person shooter, normally I'll want some kind of single-player element, like the old Call of Duty games. Play through the single-player, learn how to play the game, and then blast into the multiplayer. But like, you know, as we've been talking about, so now multiplayer is kind of a bit non-existent for me, unless it's something like The Division 2, where it's just all kind of online anyway.
Yeah.
You can sort of experience it by yourself, and then jump into kind of like different instances, different missions with people when you know you've got that chunk of time to be able to kind of to throw at it. Chatting with like Adel and Adam and other people who I've sort of been playing kind of alongside, I had that chunk of time a couple of weeks ago and was able to put in, you know, a couple of evenings into it and blasted my way up to like top level, and I've just left everyone else behind. And now I'm at that point like, my friends aren't the same level, this game isn't anywhere near as fun.
You really are
anymore.
a mercenary in that game, aren't you?
Are you
Just
bragging now?
leaving them behind. Yeah, he is. He's like, oh,
It's
I
a
can...
humble brag. Look at me, I'm so good.
Like, there'll be people who have done absolutely everything in that game already. Like, because when you finish that, all of the missions in the Division, it essentially bumps up the entire difficulty of the whole playable map, and brings in loads of other elements, makes it more difficult for you, and you've then got to like level up your gear rather than leveling up through more traditional levels. So it's got to that point where I'm like, well, I've sort of finished the game. This is now a lot harder, and I'd rather play it with a couple of mates and piss about and, you know, take it at our own pace rather than being like, oh, I've got to do this mission now to unlock this next thing.
Yeah.
I'll just do it with some random people who absolutely fly through it. And you're
Yeah.
like, I was here, now I'm behind this cover and I've shot some people. Oh shit, they're all in the next room already. I better like leg it after them, and they've already started the next encounter without you.
Yeah.
And it's just gone, nah, I don't want to do that anymore, thank you.
So are you in the end game of the Division? Or... it's quite a nebulous term for me, because the end of the game is, well, I just wouldn't start playing Division, so that's the end for me. So yeah, it's kind of like, I got
As
to
soon
the
as
end
that-
game of Yoshi and it got really hard to get it off. So.
No, I mean, I don't know, because the world, you go through, like, you finish everything in the world, and then it bumps up the difficulty of the whole world. And it does that, so I'm on tier 1, and I think there's 5 tiers. So I can then do everything again in the game, and then it will bump me up to another tier. And there's an extra thing an extra stronghold that I just haven't done because it wasn't available in the normal world. So they're adding extra bits kind of with each tier. So I don't know where the end game kind of is. I don't think they really want
Doesn't
there to be
end.
an end game.
No,
for you to
Ubisoft
keep-
just yeah, they trap you in the servers, and you're only
forever. It's where you're just sat at home looking at your like jeans and you think, what is my gear score of my jeans? I should change my jeans.
The whole world becomes the Animus when you reach the end game of the Division.
Actually,
Just a simulation.
that's another game. Like the new Assassin's Creed. Well, I don't know if it's a new one.
Odyssey. There's Odyssey and
The
Origins.
Greek one,
and very
Odyssey,
confusing.
or the
Yeah.
Egyptian one, Origins.
Egyptian one, Origins.
Yes.
I could only play it for 10 minutes, and it was just getting too
Yeah.
much for me.
Same, yeah. I played it for 10 minutes, opened the map, had a panic attack because it's massive. I was like, delete that off the hard drive as well. Like 20 islands. It's like, nobody has time for this. Yeah. I don't want to conquer Egypt. It's already happened.
That's true, yeah.
I think the thing that got me as well, I ran into a wall and there was a massive glitch and I couldn't get out of the wall.
Sounds like a Ubisoft game.
But I was just like, I can't be done with this. If I get so far and like I just walk into a wall again and I can't do anything, and yeah.
Yeah.
That's the end of it.
Just hang your head and shrug your shoulders, just walk off. I know you just sort of. Yeah, I did see that Ubisoft are giving away Assassin's Creed Unity, or it's like a free weekend this weekend coming up because of
the Notre
Dame fire.
Okay.
I don't know whether they're going to be giving like, you can then buy it and we'll give money towards the relief fund because. Whatever they want to do.
Everyone owns that game because I see it given away.
No, I don't.
That's surprising.
I don't have it
because they always give it away with like anything. Like you buy a carton of milk and it's like here's Assassin's Creed Unity. They give it away like all the time. I've definitely got it. It's not on the hard drive. I've got it.
No, I haven't got it. So I went onto Uplay today.
That's cool. Yeah.
And I tried to log in and two. What is it called? Two-factor authentication popped up. Yeah. Put your code in, and I'm like, go on to me Google Authenticator, yeah. And Uplay ain't on there. Like, no. Brilliant. Okay, I'll have to find one of those codes that they send you as like a backup. Can't find that email anywhere. So I'm like, well, can't go on Uplay. Won't be playing Assassin's Creed Unity anytime soon.
No.
So, well. Right. Now we've had a little bit of an intro to kind of like your gaming in the of recent, Carl. What did you want to come and talk to us about today?
Well, I would like to know really if there's any parallels in the gaming world with the craft beer world. If there's anything in particular really that's like, I know that like breweries do collaborations and things like that. Do any software developers do collaborations on certain indie games or?
That's such an interesting and good question. I would have never thought that because I was like going down like the, as you were saying before, like independent games like craft brewers are like smaller, and then you get like the big macro games and like macro breweries and like AAA developers. But like in terms of collaborations. I mean, there was just one like recently, like with Nintendo and the guys who did like Crypt of the Necrodancer are making a sequel to that game with Zelda characters. So yeah, it's cool. Like there are like some kind of parallels there as well. It's like you don't usually. I mean, do you see like big macro breweries doing like collaborations with smaller breweries? I mean, you do now and then, don't you? Yeah. So
we recently done a collaboration with London Fields Brewery, who have just been recently taken over by Brooklyn, who owned by Carlsberg. So
work it through the steps, yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah.
So I mean, it does happen, but I think if you basically say that you want to be fiercely like independent, like other brewers won't touch you, and there's so much that you can actually learn from bigger companies or bigger brewers, the way that they like treat their beer and the way that they kind of even just like as a business sense.
Yeah, there's massive things to learn from those, like creatively, and as you say, as a business point. Yeah. So.
I think that's definitely a similarity with between the two as well, because you will have smaller developers who want to fiercely remain independent. They will make the game themselves, they will fund the game themselves, they will publish the game themselves, put it through like Steam Early Access or whatever kind of program they can try and do to do that. But you then have indie developers who are kind of maybe one guy making the game himself who realizes, actually, I need a little bit of help with this. I'll go to some kind of publisher Someone like, I can never remember the guy's name, but the guy who developed Stardew Valley,
Eric
went to
Barone, because
there you go.
I'm reading that chapter in Blood, Sweat and Pixels.
And he went to, is it Chucklefish who published it?
Yes.
So, I get he sort of at some point must have realised that he needed some more expertise, he needed a little bit of help with stuff. And I would imagine in craft beer there's a little bit of that going on as well. Maybe even if you're a guy or two guys like brewing in your garage and you want to push things further and take things further, you need to find some expertise and kind of, whether that's just being part of the the scene, being kind of active on Twitter, kind of talking to people, to be able to just elicit advice from people, or whether that's actually going, hey, let's can we come out and learn what you guys are doing so we can progress kind of like what we're doing and stuff. I think there's definitely similarities between the two industries there.
It's a strange one as well, because even though everyone is competing against each other in the beer world, we always try and be quite friendly and very supportive of each other. So it's quite nice to see that in other industries like that as well. There is support from each other's like companies and that.
What's this saying, like a rising tide raises all boats, or whatever it is.
Ships,
Okay. Thank you for correcting me.
I'm not trying to correct you.
No. But yeah, it's the same with like, I don't know, like Microsoft and Nintendo, like working together, being all buddy. It's like if we get more, if we get more gamers, and in terms of your sphere, like more people drinking craft brew, beers, and it just brings people into the scene, and that can only help your business at the bottom line. But I wanted to ask a question, like, how do these collaborations come about? Can it be something as simple as go on Twitter and it's like, hey, we like your beers, let's do something? Or
sometimes, I mean, other times you have to work at it a little bit as well. So sometimes it's just about meeting people at beer festivals and understanding that certain breweries we prefer. I mean, like, we enjoy their beer, not necessarily prefer, but we prefer enjoy their beer, and they enjoy ours. Or every single brewery tends to have a little different style that they can bring to the table, and different ways of actually brewing. Everyone's got different equipment. Everyone does things differently, so it's all like a learning process, really. And once you've got that one brew down, it tends to be that the other brewery will reciprocate that brew as well. So you go to each other's houses pretty much. Literally, it can be anything from like beer festivals to talking on Twitter to basically doing a delivery at a bottle shop, and they're there. But I think the benefit of the brewing industry, it might be the same with the video game industry as well. It's very small. It's very kind of niche still, really. There's only like nearly I think there's 1,700 odd brewers in the UK. That might sound a lot, but a lot of them tend to only be like one or two people working at them breweries. And in that kind of sense,
it's tight knit.
That's pretty much there's pretty much the same amount of people that work at Jaguar Land Rover. You know what I mean? Still quite small.
I mean, I think when you're talking about like saying I want to do this and this and that, and like at beer festivals making those decisions, I was just thinking of like Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts was like decided like 20 years ago, just as an idea, because the like Disney Japan like worked in the office next to like Square Enix, or it might have been Squaresoft back then. And it was just over a night, and then just like, should we just make this game with Final Fantasy and Disney characters? Why not? That's how it came about. And it's,
I think the link there as well is alcohol.
It helps everything. Yeah.
Some very
it
strong
does.
rice wine was going around the office that evening, just late Friday evening when people were working late. Yeah, there's kind of as we've conversed, I've forgotten what the other thing was that came to my like instantly as you asked the question. I'm like, I can think of a similarity, but it's gone from my mind completely.
No. It'll come
Obviously
back.
wasn't that good. Bit of a rubbish one.
Sure it was. All your ideas are great.
Well, I mean, talking about kind of like the collaborations between different people, and you know, you were saying sort of, is it the same from craft beer and to video games? I think it's the same sort of across, you know, quite a few different industries, really. I know in architecture, you know, I chat with other architects and we ping ideas about kind of all over the place, and obviously through your architecture education, you build up a network of other people, your peers who are, you know, all dot around the country and go to different places, who might come around and go, I've got some more info about this kind of soil type and what we should do for buildings with this, and you know, you're just pulling kind of information from your network. So much so that I went away last weekend and met up with a friend who I haven't seen for about sort of 9 months, something like that. We went to uni together, and we've both just had finished 2 extensions, and they look almost identical. We have just independently designed almost exactly the same extension, you know, for projects. And I can kind of, you know, there's little bits of differences, but I wonder whether it's, you know, the same in kind of like in craft beer, whether, you know, you've worked with someone a couple of years ago and then suddenly you both come out with an IPA and you really want to push like Simcoe or something, and actually you both produce beers which are pretty similar, and you've used maybe a slightly different like malt build or something, and it has just a little bit of difference between the two, and suddenly you're just kind of like, oh, that's my bad, I did it first, we didn't do it together, it wasn't, you know, it's not, we're not collaborating at all on this.
There's always instances where you're like, okay, I can see how they've used certain malts or certain yeast in a particular way, and I think, well, it's probably the same with architecture and building and stuff like that. You've only can use what you actually got. So a lot of the hop merchants around the UK get similar hops in around the same time. Different types of yeast are widely available. People tend to buy from set maltsters as well, so everyone tends to use the same, but there's a lot of brewers in the UK, so that they're going to be quite similar. It's down to water profiles and your actual kit, which define the beer that you make. So even if someone takes one of our recipes and brews it on their kit, it's going to be completely different to what we have actually got. So everyone is actually individual when it comes to anything like that. So where there's similarities, there's always major differences, and beer's beer. I mean, I'm going to enjoy an 8% double IPA hopped with like Simcoe and Citra as much as the next person. If we even brew on, I'll probably get a bit more attached to that because I brewed it myself, and so there's different ways to looking at it. But I've never thought anyone there tends to be not much copying in the industry, but there's only I would say like trends pretty much probably in video gaming as well. Like New England IPAs seem to be the in thing. Pretty much
loot shooter,
or the same as suddenly there's a resurgence in like pixel art styles, or you know, very specific kind of gaming mechanics that people want to kind of play with and things. And it's I suppose maybe it's a bit different with video games to the beer industry, in that video games kind of have that cyclical like console cycle, so suddenly the technology will bump up quite significantly every so many years, and suddenly people go, well, I can do this style, this kind of like this graphical style, but actually I can now do it like this, which gives me more time to then be able to put this into my, and you know, expand it in that sort of way. I would imagine beer is beer and has been brewed for thousands of years in a very kind of similar way, you know, not exactly the same way, but in a similar kind of way to how it's brewed now.
The fact that you said that is kind of made me think a little bit, actually. Probably a lot slower moving than that video game industry, because I mean, people brewed beer thousands of years ago, but didn't understand bacteria and yeast until Louis Pasteur came along, and then it progressed from that. And I think the UK has seen a massive boom in the beer industry over the past 15 odd years. Well, say 5 years especially. And there's been a lot more money thrown at it. So the brewers that are starting out now seem to have a lot more money, much better kits than perhaps the brewers that started up 5 years ago would have had. Can potentially do a lot more styles, but that's just going to be advantageous for like the Boomer. I mean, that's not a negative point at all. It's moving, but it's much at a slower pace that anyone really knows about, really.
Yeah, I suppose that's kind of nice, really. You haven't got to Well, I was going to say you haven't got to constantly try and push the boundaries and stuff, but I imagine everyone always is, and they're like, oh, we could put some Brett in our beer, yay.
I think a lot of things have calmed down a lot over the 3 years. I mean, if you looked at what brewers were probably producing like 3 years ago, black IPAs, which I know that you like, Luce.
Yes, I really like that.
Were like a massive kind of niche, and no one had even heard of them. Or like West Coast IPAs. So if you were doing any kind of sour beers, that would have been kind of, oh my god, you're crazy. Why are you even like souring any of your beers at all? Whereas now it's just basically become the norm, and with the progression of beer, I see it's pretty much hard. Well, it's going to be a lot harder to create new styles and do something new with it. You have to revert back to the older styles like traditional bitters, milds, and kind of push them a little bit more, because people have it all comes around again. It's all circled.
Yeah, in everything that you see, like film, music, fashion, everything, it all just comes back on itself.
So 20 years ago, I mean 20 years from now we might be talking about New England IPAs again.
Strangely enough, I've got a New England IPA to drink tonight.
I was about to say, like, your architecture story. I thought it was going to go in like a completely different, like, when you say, "Oh, I've met my friend from 10 years ago," I thought you were going to say, "Oh yeah, and we decided to build a castle together" or something.
Mate, if only it had gone in that fucking direction, that'd have been brilliant.
Collaborate.
We'd both be dead on a hill right now, probably, if we decided to build a castle together.
Brothel, much easier.
Right, I'm going to open up another beer because I finished the Orange Gobblin, which went down a lot better as I drank it than maybe the initial taste did. It became a little bit easier. The orange did definitely sort of push through a little bit more. It was nice, really easy. But my second beer, I'm gonna go up by ABV this week. So my second beer is from a brewery no one will have heard of called Twisted Barrel Ale, and it's a collaboration, I believe, with Wilde Child. It's called Wild at Heart Fruit IPA, 5%. This one.
Oh, don't do this to me. Don't.
So I wanted to have a Twisted Barrel beer with you on, and I went into the bottle shop, Bottles and Books, and I'd been there a month or so ago because they did a tap takeover with a load of your beers, and I think I can't remember whether this one was on or not, but all of the cans that were in the fridge were beers that they had on tap, and I'm like, oh, I had that one, that was nice, I had that one. Then I saw this, and I'm like, oh, don't think I've had this one, so I picked this one up, and the other one was a sour, and I wasn't in the mood for a sour today.
You have to be in the mood for a sour.
Yeah, well, yeah, I definitely have to be in the mood for a sour. There is a little bit of flavour text. A soft, hazy pale ale with an intensely tropical flavour from a blend of New World hops and Fute puree malts. tells us the things. Malt, Pilsner, flaked oats, wheat and dextrin. Hops, Eldorado, Simcoe. Yeast, Windsor, other mango puree and peach puree. And then all the ingredients in other languages. There we go. So I'm going to pour this one. Carl, what have you got to drink second this evening?
I've got a pale ale, so I'm going down in it.
Yeah.
It's 4.5 pale ale called Parka from a brewery called Double Barrel, which are in Reading.
I think I picked that up today. You see,
Yeah.
Carl, we never plan. It's like we always have the same beers. We just never have them on the podcast together.
I visited the brewery last Saturday on a little brewery tour that I did.
Nice.
Unfortunately, I never managed to drink any of their beers. I've had a couple of their beers before.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them, but I wasn't able to from the tap because I was driving. But I picked up a couple of cans. This is one of them.
Nice.
Hops in it are Cascade, Centennial, and Citra, which is dry hops. So already I'm going to love this beer. Extra pale malt, golden naked, and oats. So just 3 different types of malts in that. And then they've gone for a blend of Windsor and SO4 yeast. And it's suitable for vegans as well. So no finings or no animal products in this. And it's 4.5%, and it's called Parka.
Nice.
Yeah. Cool.
I was going to say, like, the head seems to have dissipated quite quickly on this, but it's a lovely kind of little straw colour.
Yeah.
That's hazy. It's more
A lot
hazy than the
hazier.
last
A lot
one,
hazier
yeah.
than last year. Lucy,
Yes.
what have you got?
I'm going to follow suit, Ben, and I'm also going to have a beer from... Do you know who, Carl? He hasn't got a clue. It's Twisted Barrel Ale. Oh! Okay, well...
Save that one, then. Save that one.
You see, this is planning. Like, we could have done 2 for 2. But we'll at least have one together. Alright then, I'm going to have a Deya beer. This one is called Meet Me in the City. It's a 6.5% IPA. Flavor text: deliciously juicy IPA, dry hopped with Citra and Galaxy. Just unfiltered, unpasteurized, unrefined, naturally soft, hazy, and juicy. That's pretty much it. But Carl, as you know, they are one of my favourite breweries. So, perfect occasion you're on. Practice.
Yeah, they are really good at producing some really good beers at the minute.
They are. I have actually started listening to another podcast called Triple Hopped. They just did their
Traitor.
They just got to listen to the competition. They don't talk about video games.
It's all right then.
They just done their second episode. Their first was essentially on Cloudwater beers. I think there's 4 fellas. They sit around and they all drink the same beers so they can discuss them. And they had 4 Cloudwater beers on the first episode. And their second episode was all about Deya. And they're saying, we've got this Deya beer. I'm like, Deya, I still haven't seen that beer here in Bristol. Yeah. And then another beer, like, still haven't had that one in Bristol. Where is the Bristol love, Deya? Where is it?
They're all coming up to Birmingham, which is more important.
Well, it's true. They're always on in Bottles and Books as well on tap. So
They're
I
getting
just
around
have
a bit
one when
more.
I pop in there occasionally. Like yesterday.
I know with Deya that you tend to have to go to the brewery to actually pick up any cans in Cheltenham.
Yeah, a lot of the time. I see them now and then, but yeah. Or they got their online shop now. So.
Oh, have they?
Yeah, true.
Yeah, they had it for a while, a few months.
I'm scared of the internet. I don't want to go on it.
Well, after today's technical issues, I don't blame you.
So, these beers that we're drinking now. The Wilde at Heart. It's got. I mean, it looks like it's going to be a juice bomb. It really does. It's super hazy. It's got that orangey amber kind of colour to it. The head. It was a little white, sort of foamy, frothy head. It sticks around on the glass a little bit. It's a little bit of lace in there. I'm doing it in under my light because you probably can't see it. But just a little bit there. It smells nice. It's got a really kind of fruity nose to it. I've been having mango seems to be kind of kicking about quite a lot in beers at the moment. I don't know whether it's just kind of like a kind of a combination of that Simcoe and Eldorado, which just gives you a real big sort of like mango flavour, or whether it's just maybe one of them combined with something else. But I know I had the Wylam last week, which had a big mango sort of flavour to it. I don't know whether mango is in fashion at the moment, but I like mango. It's good.
We've got the perfect person here to us.
Yes,
well, I was going to say, you're partly right with that, because the hops do, give a impact of like mango with it, but we basically put a lot of mango puree in there, so that's probably what you taste in the mango. It was a collaboration with Wilde Child, who are a brewery up in Leeds, and they're known for their kind of fruity IPAs and a lot of puree in their beers as well. So do a collaboration. It's kind of like half and half with another brewery, and we wanted to create like a soft kind of fruity IPA with fruit puree in as well. So yeah, we basically created our base, decided on the hops that we wanted to use, decided on the puree that we're going to put in there, brewed it together, and it come out like that.
Yeah.
So Carl, how long does that process take of like you finding which ingredients that you have and getting an idea and then putting it into the brew? Like, is there a lot of debate, collaboration? Like,
well,
how long does that process take?
It depends. I mean, our head brewer and director Richie does a lot of the work on the scenes with all that. But we do talk about it together and decide which kind of is the best kind of formula to go forward. When another collaborative brewery is involved, it tends to be quite a few emails go back and forth to try and find the right way to do this, and try and find out their methods compared to our methods, and which will actually work better on our kit. And then when they come into the brewery to brew the beer, it's a little fight to see if we need to change anything at the time. So I mean, like up until the day, it could change last minute. I mean, we've done quite a few brews now where it's just like, actually thinking about it, this hop might work a little bit better with this hop on the day, so we might as well do it that way instead. But as for the end-to-end process, depending on what brewery you work with and what capacity we've got or they've got, it could be like a couple of months deciding the recipe, a day actually brewing it, and then up to probably about 10 to 14 days with the beer in the fermenter before we actually put it off into can or keg. And then depending on what beer it is, then after that, I mean, if it's a barley wine or an imperial stout, it could be a lot longer in the brewery before we put it onto sale until it's ready.
Okay, cool. Nice bit of insight there.
Yeah, I imagine.
A lot of admin.
I imagine as well, with all of that planning, that you want to mitigate for everything possible, but sometimes I imagine the beer comes out and it just doesn't quite work out. It might still work and it might be a nice taste, but it maybe might not be quite what you wanted to go for, or there must be so many things that can actually kind of go wrong, or just so many variables that can change to just alter something quite dramatically.
It sounds massively like video games, doesn't it? I'm so glad you drew that correlation.
How many times have you had to throw away a video game at the last minute?
I will just mention Anthem, and they do. They throw out. They throw out levels, mechanics, everything. Yeah.
People throw away games all the time as well. Really. There are some crazy people out there with all of the money in the world that just can spend them all on their video games, and they go, "This isn't what I wanted. Bye."
No, they go on
like
Twitter and complain, and go on Steam and get a refund.
True.
Yeah. Anyway,
there we go.
Back to you, Carl.
I was going to say, like, there's only. I hate admitting this. I know, like, breweries like Cloudwater are very kind of passionate about when they throw away beer and say it's not good enough. But I can guarantee you now it's one of the most kind of heartbreaking things to throw away a beer. But I don't, me personally, I don't like announcing that moment at all.
Yeah.
But we've had to do it a couple of times because the beer isn't up to the standard of what we would like. At the last minute, and it's like, okay, well, we need to spend another like 14 days brewing this beer again to make sure it's good. But I can understand if, like, in the computer game industry, it takes a lot longer to make a computer game. There's a lot more bodies involved with that kind of thing. So for a whole team to throw away a computer game at the last minute,
I mean,
it's kind of delay its release.
Yeah, it's catastrophic either way, but just in different terms of like, oh, this took us so many weeks, but, you know, video game terms, it took us so many years worth of work, but it's still, you know, in terms of bottom line, it's still devastating. So,
and it's kind of maybe, you know, just through the frequency of, you know, how much beer brewers actually brew, you know, every few weeks or every couple of days, depending on sort of like the size of their outfit, what they can kind of put through. You know, you might find that actually like 1% of the beer that you brew, you know, just because of unforeseen circumstances has to be chucked, or whatever that percentage is of, you know, for each brewer. And it's not kind of, you know, it's not big news. No one kind of says, oh, we had to chuck this, you know, this brew away, so you're gonna have to wait for another one. Whereas with video games, it's normally big news. You know, if a studio gets shuttered and the project they're working on gets stopped, then everyone is kind of like talking about it. It's kind of, I guess it's just the scale between the two different industries really, that kind of that show that. With, you know, the Star Wars games that have all been kind of cancelled, or at least reported on over the last sort of few months and weeks and things, you know, suddenly everyone's like, oh, I would have loved that game. And you know, I don't think you've got many brewers online going, oh, we tried to brew this beer, and people are like, well, how dare you throw that away? I would have loved that beer. It's, you know, what a travesty. It's just,
and I mean, you've got your core line, and I imagine you brew different beers, like new beers, simultaneously. So maybe if one doesn't work out, you've still got one on the back burner to put out. You know, like.
And I think we're in that kind of nice position as well, where we're not a big brewery. We're not kind of pioneering. I don't mean that in any disrespect to us, but not pioneering techniques or anything like that. And we haven't got a load of we haven't got many fans really.
Hey, I'm a fan.
Into our beer. So, but I mean, like, we're in that fortunate position where we can make mistakes, and they won't be punished too much. Exactly. Concentrate on making good quality beer that we actually want to produce, and kind of get away with it a little bit.
Nice, it's good. It's good. Like I love, you know, I love what I do, because I can sit here and draw. You know, someone says, I want an extension, and I can sit here and draw 20, 30, 40 different iterations of kind of the same floor plan or layout and extension stuff. And for me, I'll only ever present, say, like 2 or 3 to a client. Be like, this is what you can go for. And it is all about, like, for me, it's all about what the client wants. It's you know, there might be some artistic vision in kind of what I'm doing, and the client might say, I just want an extension. You go, this would work really well, and this would work really well, and you'd get benefits from this, and you get benefits from this. And the client turns around and says, oh, great, can I have a bit of that and a bit of that, usually? And then you have to smash them together. So it kind of, you know, when you're producing a product, it's a little bit different, because it is all your own input, really. You're not kind of making it for anyone but yourselves to then put out into the market to kind of see how it does, I guess. Again, a similarity between beer and video games. You produce that product to then put towards people. I guess I'm not really a product, I'm a service more than anything else, I suppose.
Well, it depends which video game. Sometimes you have,
That's very true.
creativity by committee,
Yes.
and if those playtesters want more shooty, then shoot.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose it is a bit harder in beer as well to kind of go, how does this taste? Should we make this beer? Unless you've got like a really small batch kit to be able to kind of test things on. But again, you test something out on a small batch kit, it's going to taste different to how you actually then brew it on a larger kit. So,
And we're open for consultancy around here, so send whatever you want, even the best.
Well, you're only in Birmingham, aren't you? So
Yeah, I need to
go
come
down the road.
Really do. Yeah. I'll come
Just
and
let me know.
pick it up myself. Yeah.
And I think the thing is with beer, a bit similarities between gaming and beer as well is everyone has got their own individual tastes and ideas how things should work. So one person's version of a beer or a video game could be absolutely great, and the person 2 doors down could actually really hate the beer or really hate the video because they prefer something else.
That's absolutely true.
yeah, completely. So, we'll come back to the beers that we are drinking. Carl, I don't think you've told us about the beer that you were drinking yet.
Yeah. The head's gone now, so there's no lacing really on the glass. Carbonation's quite low, but still it's very soft mouthfeel to it. Lovely colour, very drinkable. Got pretty much very citrusy aroma. It's quite bitter, quite astringent, leaves your mouth quite dry. But I tell you what, it's a good beer for a pale ale. for a 4.5% pale ale, it's very, very drinkable. Probably would have preferred it for a little bit more carbonation, but for what it is, it's and probably to the style as well. They've probably gone a bit New Englandy, so that tends to have a lower carbonation to it. But the mouthfeel and the taste is pretty much, it's quite a balanced pale ale, to be honest with you.
Nice.
Yeah. I'll look forward to drinking that.
Ooh. Not up next this evening, though. What have you got now, Lucy?
Yes, the Deya. It's for anyone who's had a Deya beer before. If you haven't, get on it. It's what you expect. It's very juicy. It's fruity. It's completely hazy. Had quite a large foamy head. To begin with, the head's still pretty much there. It's still like one finger. And it is lacing quite a lot as well. But yeah, it's juicy, tropical, like fruits. All throughout the taste, on the aroma as well. It's got a really nice, not quite thick and viscous, but a substantial mouthfeel. It's really good. It's not too bitter on the end. It's just that like complete juice all the way through, a complete juice bomb. I think I'm getting quite a lot of lychee at the end of the taste as well, which is going really well with those other tropical fruit flavors like mango and pineapple. Bit of orange, yeah. I'm happy. It's like it's a 500ml can, and it's like I'm almost done. Action sweet louder than words. It's a really good bit.
Nice. I think as we again.
Sorry, what was that?
What Deya beer was that again?
It's called Meet Me in the City, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
Yes, Meet Me in the City. IPA 6.5%. It's one of their. Well, they're coming out with new ones all the time now, aren't they? But I think it's probably last month or two that they had it or something like that. So it's a fairly recent in there. But yeah, it's not their newest by any stretch. They have a new one like every week. So,
yeah.
She's mad.
They do seem to be absolutely banging them out, and they've been doing the rounds, haven't they, a little bit with the collaborations as well. I see there's
I had one with
Pressure Drop about to come out as well, and there's one with Wilde that's just come out, I think, as well.
Yeah, I had that today, the wit beer. It's so good. So good. Yeah, I think it's called There's Nothing Wrong with Dreaming.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, orange wit beer. Really good.
Something to do with dreams. Not the PlayStation 4 game.
Oh yeah, that came out.
Dreams you have. Yes, it did come out, yes.
Oh yes.
I think I kind of mentioned the beer I'm drinking, but I don't think I really said much about it. But it is going down far too easily. It's just absolutely knocking this back. A lot of mango coming through, bleeds in very nicely to those the stone fruit of the peach that's in there as well. It almost feels like there's just this like underlying like lemon flavour going on as well. I don't know whether that's more the citrus from the last beer maybe having an impact on this one, perhaps. Part of the problem with drinking different beers in succession, and they're all sort of like bleeding into each other afterwards. So, but I think, you know, well before we finish whatever we talk about next, I'm going to have absolutely smashed this back. Super, super easy.
Yeah, glad that you really enjoy it. That's good. I enjoyed making it, to be fair.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Anything particular you remember from that brew, or?
Keir from Wilde Child coming down. He's a really fun guy. I mean, if you haven't had any of his beer before, try and get some. Probably a bit far away from you, from Bristol, but yeah, he pushes a lot of cask beer, so
Okay.
there is like a limited amount of can that does come out, but he did a chocolate fudge brownie porter. He's done like milkshake IPAs and stuff like that as well, so he's very much on brand of the kind of new age kind of craft breweries.
Yeah.
And he's doing it very well as well, so yeah, he's doing good. Yeah, he's a character. He's a nice person to work with.
Nice.
Good. So, let's move on to our next topic for the evening. Lucy, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah.
What do you want to chat about this week?
I never have a topic. Come on.
We had a topic last week. We talked about difficulty in games.
That was just like, as Alex said at the point, it's a moot point. It's like, Lucy, what are you on about? I'll just talk about the game.
It was very interesting, though.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I think we all agree, make games accessible. Make beer accessible. Make it for vegans and people who have got celiac disease. Same thing.
That's a slightly harder one, isn't it? Celiac.
Yeah.
Celiac free. No, not free.
Gluten-free.
Gluten-free, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
There are some around. Same as like low ABV or 0.1% ABV beers and stuff. You know, they're starting to have a little bit of a pickup in the...
I'm seeing a lot of table beers.
Yeah?
Yeah. A lot of table beers now. It's like, oh, why is this beer only £2? It's like, oh. It's a 2.5% beer, but it's like, yep. Like, I love table beers. Like, you get so much... How do you get so much flavour in it? Carl, you could probably answer this. Like, how do you get so much flavour in, like a 2.5% beer? Because I had one, was it last week or the week before? It was really light. And
you had the Whiplash, didn't you, last week?
Yes, the micro IPA,
2.5%-ish, yeah.
Northern Lights,
Was that the one with... No, it wasn't the one with Boundary, that was...
I think it was just Whiplash. I think it's called...
Yeah.
It was really low, but it's like, tasted like all their other...
I'd say it's... skill of brewing.
Yeah.
Of course I would say that. Skill of brewing, and a lot of hops. That's putting it quite plain. Like, you need to... It's very hard to create a body, a really good mouthfeel, because they just become too thin. So a lot of the time the only way to actually do that is add more hops to kind of trick your brain into maybe thinking that there is body in there. But also higher mash temperatures as well help creating a lot of body, and not really having yeast that attenuates quite low. Quite a lot.
You see, so when you start talking about science, temperatures, I just think sorcery. You're a wizard.
just leave it like that.
Yeah.
It's all magic, and we should go no further into it.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't want to bore anyone with.
No, I think it's fascinating. It's all just science. One I'll never understand, but I have a lot of respect for. Get nerdy.
It's an
Get
easy
nerdy and
job.
granular. Yeah. It can't be. You do long hours, Carl. Don't understand. Topic. I'm going to talk about a game I've been playing.
Yeah.
Haven't finished it yet. Probably halfway through, 2/3, and it's Bastion from Supergiant Games. This came out ages ago. Do you know when it originally came out, Ben? I mean, it would have been in the days of Xbox Live Arcade.
Yeah, so...
It's
what are we talking
2011
about?
maybe?
It might be even earlier than that, 2010 maybe?
Probably. It was one of those early like indie games like with like Braid and you know Super Meat Boy. That was it like Supergiant's like was it their debut game?
It might have been their first game, or
probably.
at least yeah, maybe not their first game, but at least their first kind of major hit. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've done Transistor, which is free on the Epic Games Store, which actually made me sign in. I remember my password, so that was easy. Don't know why everyone's complaining. Transistor did Pyre, and now they've got
Pyre,
Hades in it.
Yes.
So yeah, that's not a bad, 4 games in what? Okay, maybe?
It was 2011, Bastion. So yeah, I suppose with development time of Bastion, you're looking at 4 games in about 10 or 11 years.
Yeah, not bad considering Hades probably come out in like a year or 2. Yeah.
Yeah, next year I would imagine.
Games. Yeah. So yeah, I mean you can obviously see it played the subsequent games. See their roots in the game. It's got gorgeous art style, really good aesthetic. The way the world like just falls into place as you're running around and stuff like that. Great soundtrack. Really love the soundtrack. Yeah, it's a game where I think I prefer the aesthetic more than the actual gameplay, because the gameplay it's like an isometric. I guess you could call it a brawler, hack and slash kind of thing. You have different weapons like bow and arrow, like shotgun, like hammer. You can choose up to 2 main weapons and a sub weapon like a grenade or a trip mine and stuff like that. And you're just going through these. It's not procedurally generated. It's just set levels. I'm guessing.
Yeah,
Ben?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, and the world, displays as you're running through it, and narrator always commenting on what you're doing and narrating the story at the same time, which is quite novel. But the gameplay for me, I'm just slashing at enemies, hacking them, not really considering, upgrading my weapons, considering changing my arsenal to, defeat different kinds of enemies, tailor my, tool set to that. So it's not. It's short, and that's why I started playing it. I was like, how long to beat? 6.5 hours. Brilliant. Cool. Started it. Really charming, really great aesthetic. Gameplay is, it's not wowing me. I think for an indie game, which probably would have had to be, maximum 256 megabytes back then in Xbox Live Arcade, it is very impressive, but now where indies have come, and, how big they've grown in terms of scope and scale and just size and hours and everything, it's not really blowing me away, but I think it's it's very fun to play nevertheless. It's just wowing me more with its aesthetics, which hold up to this day, rather than its actual gameplay.
Yeah,
that sounds like my kind of game.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, it's been free on some service. You can probably pick it up for very cheap. I mean, it's been on PlayStation.
You must be able to buy it everywhere as well.
Oh god, yeah. I think it's even on Switch, maybe. Or maybe that's just Transistor. Yeah. But yeah, it's everywhere. You could probably pick it up in a humble bundle deal for like 79 pence.
More than likely. It's an interesting one, because Bastion, I think I played after Transistor. And you can see the
DNA.
that evolution through to Transistor from Bastion. I loved Transistor the way that it swaps out the idea of having different weapons and giving you different abilities to kind of be able to play with, and that switch up between just being able to go in and button mash against enemies versus pausing and be able to plan your attacks. Transistor, I think, feels like they've taken that base of Bastion and gone, what can we do? What can we improve on? How can we make this a better experience for people? I absolutely love Transistor. I haven't played Pyre.
No,
but
I think that's only on PlayStation.
I don't know.
Is it? Maybe PC.
Ooh. But Hades is looking good,
cool.
And it again is looking like that evolution of their style of game. Whether it kind of I think it from what I've seen, it looks like it follows more the Transistor kind of route of different abilities, but also gives you different weapons which may provide different abilities. So again, it's kind of taking a bit of Bastion, taking a bit of Transistor, and kind of putting them together to then create kind of their next product. I seem to remember a little bit about Pyre, that it was kind of like a 3-on-3
God basketball game.
Yeah.
Maybe you'd be interested, Cole. Like your co-op games. I wonder if can you play Pyre?
I've no idea.
You might not be able to. It might just be single player only. But yeah, I mean, it's given me more context. The developing Hades series from NoClip, which Carl, I don't know if you're familiar with NoClip. It's a video game documentary series, and they're just very good into video game development. And they do have like smaller chunk videos. I mean, they have longer documentaries, like maybe 40-50 minutes long, but then they have like just little snippets of like 10, 15, 5-minute videos, which are really good. But they're
not heard of them.
Yeah, check them out. But they're doing a documentary on Hades, which is in early access, and it's like just cataloging like all the ups and downs of development, and it's playing Bastion just gives more context to it, which is fascinating considering that game's 8 years old at this point. Oh, time.
Crazy.
Yeah, it really is.
Wow.
Just as I did have a quick look, and Pyre, at least Googling it, their entry does say that there is a single player and a multiplayer mode. I don't know what the multiplayer mode entails, whether it's kind of, because I think you're a team of 3 and they play different kind of roles, and you have to essentially, it's almost like a hybrid of like basketball versus like something else. So you have to get to a certain point on a board essentially, and the other team are trying to do different abilities to kind of stop you from being able to get there. It
was a really like lofty kind of like game, just in like terms of its concept, mechanics, and its spirituality and story.
Yeah, and there's this story mode running through it as well, isn't there? Like,
very bizarre. But they're the kind of studio.
I enjoy playing like StarCraft and games like.
You can play anything then, mate. You can play anything if you play StarCraft.
I said I enjoy it. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not getting good at it.
If you can even understand it, that's just impressive to me. Yeah.
Fair enough. But Space Hulk as well, and like kind of not like RPGs, but kind of turn-based games. That's
okay.
I enjoy that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Sounds quite good.
It's in Ben's wheelhouse, not mine.
Yes, I do enjoy a lot of those kinds of games. Stuff like the Banner Saga, things like that, which I think is now available on consoles, on PlayStation. There's been 3 of them now, and it must be available on consoles now. The Banner Saga is sort of a similar sort of thing, single player, story-driven game where you make a few decisions and then you pick a squad as such to take onto a square tiled map and then have to fight enemies essentially. Another game which I think is kind of quite respectful of your time, because these battles don't take that long to play out and to finish, and then you can kind of, it will save after that battle. You can go away, you can come back, you can do a little bit of the story, make some decisions, set up a camp, kind of train up a little bit, and then do a story battle type thing, and kind of do things dependent on the amount of time that you've got. But it's a nice kind of strategy, tactics kind of game, which does allow you to play in sort of short bursts. I always found with things like XCOM and stuff, you might think that you're only going to play for 10 minutes, but suddenly like 2 hours later and 5 battles later, and you've lost like 4 different people, you're like, oh, I'm so deep into this now, I just have to cancel whatever I was doing for the afternoon just to be able to play this and get kind of like back into it. The Banner Saga is a little bit, it's brutal, and it has some really kind of like brutal elements to it, but it's
is it set in like Norse mythology?
It is kind of Viking mythology. I'm trying to think what was in the first game, so I don't spoil anything. I haven't played the third one. That came out last year, I think, but it definitely revolves around like Jormungandr, the world serpent sort of thing, and you have humans, and you have, I don't know what they're called, giants essentially, or they're at least kind of like twice the size of humans, and they're slower but they hit harder and they take up more squares on the battlefield type thing, so they can be assaulted by essentially like 8 humans, if they're sort of like all around them kind of thing. So
not all giants are giant sized, Ben.
That's true. But it's I mean, like the Banner Saga is a really good kind of like tactics game. I think what like Bastion leading into Transistor gives you is it does have a little bit of that kind of like strategy tactics element, but it's not quite that jump. They wanted to keep those games, I think, a bit more action orientated, which is why it's kind of like a single character rather than squad based. And Transistor, at least, is again, it's a really short game, and it's one that I'm pretty sure I finished in maybe like 2 sittings. But it's multi-hour kind of. I would imagine it's under 10 maybe, but it was very kind of compelling to play through. And I think we're very spoilt now for games that kind of that respect our time, but that still give us a really good like narrative push between these different kind of gameplay elements, or trying to tie in kind of what you're doing in maybe like short bursts and things. You don't have to sit down and play The Last of Us for 12 hours a day to then to breeze through because you kind of want to. There's lots of smaller experiences which give you similar kind of feels that that these sort of like big budget games give you as well.
I mean, David Jaffe created Twisted Metal and co-director on the first God of War, at least. He was like, I miss games that are like, really cohesive narrative story in 1 to 3 hours. Like, he said that he's making one of those. I was like, thank you, David Jaffe. Someone say it. Give me a 3-hour experience.
I mean, without kind of bleeding into what I was going to talk about too much, you do kind of get that a little bit more through like episodic games as well, where people have gone, we've got this like 10-hour story to tell, but either through needing money for development, kind of like progressing points along the way, or because they've decided they just want to work it as an episodic kind of model. That kind of works quite well in sort of like respecting your time a little bit more as well. You can sit there and think, I've got an hour that I don't need to do anything. I can blast out just episode 1 of whatever this is, or otherwise, if you haven't kind of got like a chunk of time to put into things, it's really difficult to find games that just allow you to play for like 15 minutes and things that still give you a good kind of.
do you think that that's because loads of people are going on to retro gaming, like the old Mega Drive game as well? So quite.
Yeah, like people just want to just sit back into that nostalgia, don't they?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, they do.
yeah, those games
but
are really short when you know what you're doing.
They are, yes.
Not
When you
the-
know
the
what you're
save
doing,
states.
that's the thing. Because you couldn't save games on SNES or Mega Drive. Games were like, really, if you were good at a game and you could just play it from start to end and get through it, maybe it was only like a 2-hour experience.
Like half an
But
hour. Some of
As soon as well, exactly. But as soon as you put that game in for the first time, and you die on level 1, then you play it again and you die on level 1 again, and it actually takes you like a month to complete, and it's the only game you have for for that amount of time. Then I think it's kind of like a little bit of wanting that slightly, but also going back to last week's chat, knowing that things need to be much more accessible now. Gamers are not just kids and teenagers and college students, which have like a little bit more time on their hands. The average age of gamers is in their 30s now, so we're looking at people with full-time jobs, with families, with kids. There is a want for those smaller experiences, and maybe not smaller experiences, but experiences which can be delivered in smaller chunks, I suppose.
I think what it is that I think if you're young enough, you will just hop on and play a game because you have touch reflexes still, and it's like you can just pick up. You playing like a game of Pro Evo or like Apex Legends. It's one match is going to take, I don't know, maximum half an hour, and you might play 1 or 2 of those in the evening. But if you have no skill or you can barely see, it's like you just want something that tells a darling little indie story about grief. You can just cry in your pillow and play that for an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Should we have another beer?
I think we do.
Yes, why not?
Carl, what are you having?
Barrel.
You see, this is the thing. I was actually gonna test it. I was like, do you remember what like hops are in this? Do you remember what in this? Do you remember the percentage? But he's got
nice
the beer,
and
so
easy,
there's no point.
It's basically a single hopped New England IPA. So
Yes. Wrapped in
everyone loves Citra.
6%.
Basically, we do a load of different wrapped in series beers. So if I remember right, the next one that we're brewing is wrapped in Mosaic.
Oh, I'll be on that one like a flash.
Yeah, we've done wrapped in Centennial.
Yes.
We've done loads. Basically,
Wrapped
we
in
just
Simcoe.
yes, we
Yeah,
did that last year.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
So this is going to be the second year that we're doing this kind of style of beer in cans with a single hopped. Working really well. Tasting great. Completely hazy.
Yeah,
I
I was about to say, this is the haziest
Yeah,
I've had. You cannot. It's like juice. It's opaque.
We've changed the yeast up a little bit. I think we used New England yeast last year, but we've reverted to Windsor yeast this year. Just because we found that it's working a little bit better with the malts and the hops that we're using. The base is pretty much the same. I mean, the malts and that don't really change with each brew. It's really meant to showcase the hops.
Yeah, because it's just Citra you've got in here. So, I mean, just from what I'm drinking, that's pretty impressive. Just from Citra.
Thanks.
It's fine. I'm not just saying that because you're here. It's like it's even softer than the Deya because
Oh, don't say that.
it is. It is. Like I'm getting a slight bit of like hoppiness just at the like top of my lip, but after that it's just like soft and just easy drinking and juicy.
The thing is, as well, we never really dry hop them to a massive amount like water or the other brewers seem to kind of put out. I mean, it is a lot, but it's not as much as everyone. We try and reserve that as much as possible to make it taste good as soon as possible, really, more than anything. So we try and restrict that hop burn as much as possible.
You know what? We tried to take pictures of beers. I forgot the first two, but this one was just so pretty then that I actually remember. There you go.
I remember having this at the Tap Takeover.
Yeah.
I think I had 4. One was a Belgian blonde, and then there was a couple of other ones. I forget the names.
Need to get on that Untapped.
It's well, mate. I've stopped using Untapped. I haven't used Untapped for fucking ages. It's all about Instagram, isn't it, mate?
Oh, he's a hipster,
part of the
isn't
fucking
he? He's
with all the
the
hanging out
millennial
with all the
over
kids.
here. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Lonely Souls,
fair,
Belgian blonde. I had.
I stopped using Untapped probably about 5 years ago after I started brewing beer. I was like, yeah, this isn't good. It's very demoralising.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Good at all.
And it's like when you've had so many as well, judgment becomes impaired naturally. So it's unfair to like just put a 1 out of 5 on a brewer. Put so much hard work in. So I do it because I can't remember which beers I've drank because I have a terrible memory.
See, I absolutely love people that go on Untapped, check a beer in, and just write about it, not giving any rating, because you can do that now, and just like what they prefer, and not actually rate it. That to me is more beneficial than like a 1-star rating or
Absolutely.
5-star rating.
Yeah, I read an article about someone's like, I just check in and just write about it because it seems unfair to distill it down to a few numbers with so much going on.
And it's really difficult as well with like to I mean, it's the same with games. Like anytime I write a review, I will not put a number on it because it's far too reductive to kind of be like, oh, this is a 7 out of 10 game because that's what I think. Because to someone else, it's not going to be. It's going to be a 10 out of 10 game. Someone else, it's going to be a 3 out of 10 game. You know, everyone's tastes are different, and at least with reviews, or at least the reviews for games that I look at these days. Having read lots of different reviewers over the years, I've kind of found a few people whose kind of the games that they enjoy that I'm similar to. So I'm like, this person enjoys this game and they've reviewed this. I will read that review because I trust what that person is saying. And it's not, they've reviewed, you know, I don't scroll down to the bottom and say they've given it 5 out of 10 stars or whatever. I'll actually read through the review because you get much more from that than kind of an overall thing. And, you know, a game might be a little bit janky, it might not be presented quite as well, which would drop it down on kind of like a scale. But if it plays a certain way and it has certain features to it that I'm all about, then I'm going to really enjoy that game, you know. So it's the same with beer, isn't it, really?
Yeah, here's a question then, because when someone gives a beer a really bad review on Twitter or I randomly scroll again, like on it on Instagram or Untapped or whatever, whenever I am on there, I want to go out and try that beer for myself. Is it the same with games? If you see a really bad review of a game, would you go out and...
I think it's what Ben said. It's like you just look at that reviewer, if you gel with them, you read the text. A lot of people just scroll down to them. You read the text. It's like someone says, "Oh, it's, you know, Symphony of the Night was a 2D game, and we don't like 2D art styles." It's like that's one of the best games ever, and it's like that's a great art style. I love 2D. And it's like I think you pay more attention to the words. I think it's just much easier in a game because there's a lot more going on. Not to be, you know, reductive of beer, but there's a lot more systems, and you're talking about graphics and this and that. But yeah, I mean, like, if I see a bad review, to be honest, I don't look at beer reviews like at all. I just go and taste them, decide for myself. I mean, as you say, it's subjective at the end of the day, but yeah, I never look at reviews. I don't like go somewhere and see, let me check into Untappd, see what people have rated this beer before going to see it, and I just have it for myself. And it's like, I know which brewers I like, which is basically universally all. So I'm never really going to be, But yeah, I think there must be some kind of, curiosity for you. If like someone rates a beer badly and they haven't put any reason why, you'd want to know why. But it could be something as down to a bad batch. But I'd never. Maybe some people can't discern if it is like a bad batch. I don't know.
Again, it might be bad batch, but it might be where they've had it and they haven't put the gas on correctly, and it's all come out shitty, or something within the system itself. But for me, with games, I would instantly try and find another review. I think
absolutely
of someone else, and try and kind of see, this person had these issues. Is that for everyone? Is everyone having this issue with the game? But I would do that, I think, or I gravitate to looking to more reviews rather than thinking, I want to now try this game on bigger budget games just because of the price point. With a beer, it's easy enough to kind of go, well, this person didn't like it, but it's only £4, £6, whatever it is, I will pick it up. If suddenly you've got a AAA £50 game, it's a bit more of an investment to chuck down. If you're kind of on the fence, about it, that you want to sort of see for yourself.
Sorry, Ben. I was just going to say, like, I see Untappd as like Steam reviews. Like, I only use Untappd for myself. I don't use it to see anybody else's. It's like Steam reviews are absolutely pointless. Someone will be like, 1 star, 1 out of 10, and we'll have played this game for 120 hours, and it's like you can't take them at face value at all.
Yeah.
And but it's like it's like other reviews are just so pointless to me, even more so than like video games. Like, I don't know, it's weird.
And another question then, Adam. Sorry if
no, carry on.
Is there any developers in games that are like untouchable in your eyes, and that people will always kind of go around? Like,
some people will. If someone says anything bad about a Blizzard game, a Naughty Dog game, or I don't know if Rockstar, people will gather around that. But it's like, you don't have to. I think that's the thing. It's like, if I dislike this beer that I was drinking now, I'd probably have to tell you. So I'd tell you. But it's like, I could also say that I've never had a bad beer from Twisted Barrel at the same time. So, but people, in video games are usually very unreasonable, and it's very binary. It's like one or the other.
Very much. Everyone's very, very fickle as well. Maybe not so much through more professional kind of like sites and reviewers and stuff, but at least the public. You had so many people. Like, I absolutely fucking loved Red Dead 2. It was exactly what I wanted at the time. Tons of people were like, no, this game isn't for me. No, shit. Like, well, yes, that's fine. And it's not a game for you. It doesn't need to be a game for you. It comes back to the whole thing that not everything is made for everybody.
That's
everything should be accessible to everybody, but it's not necessarily made to your, to work with kind of like the style of things that you like, or is in with the genre of things that you like. Red Dead Redemption is a game that tries to mirror westerns, and it's really slow in places. It has a super slow build to it. It allows you to kind of take things as you want and do sort of what you want. It's trying to open up that grey area between being like, oh, I'm either good or I'm bad. It's trying to kind of get you somewhere in between. And I loved how slow it was. I think that it suited me perfectly for when it released. People hated it for that. Absolutely hated it.
I hated it at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I was prepared to say that. And it's like,
and that's fine. You know, not every game is made, but the same. Not every beer is made for everyone. As we, said almost at the top of the show, everyone has different tastes. Everyone will prefer different styles and things like this. It's just getting into the idea of not then berating someone for that, or getting down on someone. I think I had a beer. I cannot remember the brewer off the top of my head. I had it on the podcast. I didn't enjoy it. Well, sorry, it's not that I didn't enjoy it. It was more that it maybe just wasn't great. And the brewer actually reached out and said, "Hey, what was it that you didn't like about this?" And just through DMing, I let them know. I'm not quite as maybe. I don't want to be brutal to fucking anyone. Of course I don't. Why would I? But in this message to the brewer, I'm like, "Hey, this is what I thought about this beer." And it was all kind of like, I say, cheers, thanks very much for the kind of, for the notes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's great. I'm more than happy to kind of chat with people and give them feedback and stuff. But don't need to be a cunt about it.
No, absolutely not. It's like, I remember on the podcast, it's like I had a beer from Weird Beard. And it's the only beer that I've poured down the sink because it was...
Really?
It was awful. But it was like... On that podcast, I was like, no, I'll just crack open another beer. I don't even want to talk about it because it's like every other Weird Beard brew I've had, it's like it's been my favourite of the week, and it's like, as I say, you don't need to, just because I didn't like that particular beer from it doesn't mean like I hate them. Like they're a bad brewery somehow overnight. But so, Carl, do you remember any of those like badly rated beers that you've actually sought out? Can you remember any without putting anyone on blast at the same
time? I remember what people say to us about our beers. But the thing is, I respect their opinion.
Yeah.
It's a hard one, really, because where do you change? Even though like 50 people feel that your beer is really good or have enjoyed the beer, one person doesn't. Should you change for that one person just to and try to find that balance? But the thing with craft beer is the fact that it's always evolving.
Yeah.
A lot of the beers that we do, we don't brew the same beer twice. So even if it's got the same name, there's going to be a little tweak somewhere and a little improvement. And I think if you're not improving still, and that can be detrimental to the business, craft beer as a whole, and the brewery that you work for or brewery that you own. So. It's a hard one. You take people's opinions at face value all the time, but whether or not you want to adapt to them and change, it's down to you. But with the whole scene as it is at the minute, a lot of people do change and adapt all the time. So it's hard to say, really. I mean, you could change the recipe a little bit, and out of them 10 people, one person hated it before, but 5 people could hate it the next day, or 5 people could love it. So
it's a bit difficult, kind of, I think, with with games, but we you get that in beer as well, where you have those staples. So gem is always going to be very similar with every gem that you have. Cannonball is always going to be very similar with every kind of cannonball that you have, and leading into kind of like other forms of entertainment, maybe not so much as games, but with things like music, where you get bands being able to perform stuff live. Yes, you can go and see a pop star who will just churn out their song, as it was recorded, and that's what you want to hear. Or you can go. It's why I love someone like Dillinger Escape Plan so much, because every time they play a song, it's completely fucking different. Like, we're just going to play it this way this time. You're like, brilliant.
Cool.
You know, and it's the same with beer. You know, if I go and pick up a can of something else, it's you know, maybe I want something different from that. I don't want the same kind of thing every time, because I know there are certain breweries that do that, and I can pick up a New World IPA and it will be the same every time.
Yeah, I think it would only be disappointing if it was a core beer and it's like, oh, this doesn't taste the same time. You know, like every single time it's wildly different, but you know, quality control, that rarely happens. So yeah, but you don't want, as you say, things are evolving. You don't want people just to sit on their arse and crank out the same beers every time.
Yeah, completely.
And it goes back to everyone being different and the whole diversity aspect of like brewing. And want to get everyone involved. You want to have tastes, and you want to have different people try your beers. And there's no shame in saying like, okay, well, this person didn't like this beer, or this person didn't like this one. The thing with Twisted Barrel is that we brew so many different types of beer.
Yeah.
And that if you don't like one type of our beer, I'm pretty sure that I can find you one that you do like.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it's good to be like that. It's good to be in a new age kind of craft brewery at the minute.
Yeah. Yeah,
Completely. And there's
showcasing it. This series, like the, you know, saturated in, you know, Simcoe, Mosaic soon. I can't wait for that one. Like maybe someone didn't like one. The other.
Well, again,
you're gonna get
comes down to taste, doesn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I've always thought that if I get a beer that I don't like, it shouldn't put me off trying a beer from, you know, another beer from that brewer.
Oh, no,
because
God,
they're gonna excel at certain things, maybe not so much at others. Maybe they, you know, they're really good at brewing one certain style, and I've just picked a style that was their first foray into it, or their first released foray into it, and, you know, didn't do what I thought it should, or wasn't quite what they were saying it was. And actually, you then go and try something else from them, and it's absolutely fantastic. And you think, wow, they've really nailed this style, you know?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever had it. Sorry, Carl, go ahead.
I was going to say, look at Square Enix. Like, there's no better Final Fantasy than Final Fantasy 7.
People would say 8 is the best one. I know nothing about any of them.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
it doesn't. Also,
completely. No, completely. I mean, I you know, with the Final Fantasies, I think 6 is often referred to as the best, but I jump between 7 and 8 all the time. Like 7 is fantastic. Should we start talking about Final Fantasy? Lucy will go to sleep, but
no, carry on. We can nerd out.
7 is an absolute jump in technology and what a console could do and what they changed that system to. 8 just came out at a time when I absolutely loved what was going on with that game and resonated with me. You look back at 7 now and the whole idea of climate change and the fact that corporations are absolutely destroying the earth, and you're like, well, they were right.
Well,
they're doing a remake, aren't they?
Yes.
So. That'll never come out, unfortunately.
Oh, don't say that. Final Fantasy 7 is the only game that.
It's that for a lot of people. Just, I remember seeing that game and be like, no. I'll just these polygonal people with their spiky hair.
Yeah. The big block arms.
Yeah, it's a cooler world. That fully spherical polygonal ball. No spikes there.
What of a style.
I realise I haven't talked about the beer that I am drinking.
Neither have we.
No. So you're drinking wrapped in Citra.
Yes.
I have opened up a New England IPA it's a new brewery for me, from Cosmic Brewing Company.
Oh, you hadn't even opened it. I didn't even realise.
No, I have opened it now.
Alright, okay. Oh.
What is it? They are Bristol based. I've seen their bottles before, but this is the first can I've seen from them. It's called You Never Can Tell. Look. And it's all Pulp Fiction-y on the can and the fonts and all of those sorts of things. What did I say? It was New England IPA, 6%. Super nutty, really piney. It's a really interesting kind of flavour, but after the last bit, after the Twisted Barrel, I'm not sure how much I'm enjoying it. Like going from the progression of beers this evening, going from kind of like a slightly weaker orange beer into a mango-y fruit IPA, leading then into this slightly more dank, a little bit bitter, piney, nutty, slightly resinous-y kind of IPA. There's a little bit of fruit, but it's right at the back. It's just a bit of an odd kind of progression, I think, for this to kind of be like, oh yeah, that's definitely what I would have drank next. Maybe if I'd have started on this, it would have been a bit of a different story. But right now, I'm just not quite feeling it.
That's fair. But, complete judgment can be held, because we've already had 2 beers already.
Yeah,
and
very much.
I mean, I think we've all pretty much had, well, not similar beers, but like same styles. We've had a lot of, IPAs today, so it's easy enough for them to blend into one.
Yeah, completely. I think when you get something that, when it's, it is an IPA, but when it's so different, you think, oh, I don't know about this. So, Carl, just as you dropped out, I'm drinking You Never Can Tell from Cosmic Brewing Company, which are, I say a new brewery in Bristol. They're new in at least maybe like the last year that I've seen them kind of in bottles. Not even a year, maybe only like 6 months or so. I've seen their bottles about. This is the first can that I've found, but not really feeling it at the moment.
Oh no. I haven't heard of them at all, actually.
As I say, I'd seen their bottles maybe for a couple of months, maybe a little bit longer, maybe just before Christmas or something. And they just put some cans out, and as I was in the kind of the can fridge, I'm like, oh, I will try this brewery now. Don't know what it is about, new breweries going, here's a can next to all the other cans you're picking up, rather than being a bottle over the other side of the room somewhere else. I don't know.
Are they 440s as well?
They are 440s, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm just having a little look at them as well.
Ooh, doing some research. So, whilst, yes.
It's wrapped in Citra. No. Carl, I'm not sure about you. Don't know if you know about this beer, but it's gone down really well. It's like I've got less this left. It's really soft and really easy for me. It's juicy, but it's not too thick. I'm getting a little bit of like, how to explain it, like slightly bit like perfume, like I don't know, I wouldn't call it herbal, but just a slight bit on the back end. I don't know if
it's quite floral.
Yes, that's the word, floral. Yeah, I'm getting that. Floral. Yeah, is that intentional? Or
I think it's the hops that we've used. To be fair, the hops that we used. Because use the kind of latest in each batch of Rapton. So the Citra would have been last year's crop, so they would have just come out. So it would have been quite fresh.
Yeah.
We didn't really know exactly what they will taste like, because each year the hops change as well.
Yeah, true.
For some reason, over the past, not when we were brewing last year with Citra, so it would have been the previous year's hop. They had a cat pee kind of smell to it.
Really?
Ace.
Yeah. All I could smell was cat pee whenever I opened up a bag of Citra. I was
got a
just like, oh my
distinctive
god,
smell.
this is disgusting. This is horrible. Why are we putting this in beer? But it depends on what day you catch yourself as well, which is so weird. But every single bag of Citra that I've opened this year, it tends to smell a lot more peppery, a little bit more spicy, a little bit more floral. So they've changed dramatically over the space of the year. I haven't smelt cat piss once. I'm hoping that no cats actually weed on me at all. Like
It's all part of the
when I've been
flavour,
going to
isn't it?
work. So, yeah, exactly. So yeah, for some reason, like every time that I smell Citra, last year, I could smell cat pee all the time. And until you have like you break the pellets up in your hand or the hops up in your hand, you never really have a like idea of how they're going to smell, unfortunately, or fortunately. But yeah, it's dependent on how much you use as well.
Yeah, but like just massive amounts of like floral. I always forget that. Oh, like perfume. Yes, floral is the correct word. It's just sitting on my plate. I don't know if that's a little bit of bitterness. It's like when I'm drinking it, I don't really get any bitterness, and it's just like very fruity all the way through. But the aftertaste is quite floral and slightly bitter. It's really nice.
I would hate to say that anyone was brewing New England IPAs, right? But the head brewer and Richie went over to New York and got like a couple of other half beers and all the rest of the other breweries that were on there, and brought back about 2 years ago when I think it was just before Cloud Water were doing like their double IPA versions and stuff like that, or they were like midway through. So we sat down and had a few of them, tasted them, and then like a couple of months later, everyone was coming out with these New England IPAs, and we were just like, that don't taste like New England IPA that we tasted like in the cans from all these and stuff, because a lot of them tend to have that residual kind of bitterness, and still are a little bit sweet. They're not completely dry. So we've kind of focused on that aspect of it as much as possible. Yeah. But everyone has, like, going back to it again, their own interpretations of how beer tastes and how they want it to be produced. So and Deya do that kind of juicy style very, very well.
Yes, they do. But I love bitterness. I love it. It's like, I like Deya's beers, but there's nothing better than just getting a nice balance, like really fruity at the start and just really nice bitterness at the end.
Yeah, completely.
Really bitter beers, yeah.
Yeah.
And the bitterness, I can just, it's like, it's after a few seconds, it's after like probably about 20 seconds that I'm noticing that floral like texture and the quality and the bitterness just sitting right there. It's really nice.
And then you need another gulp.
Yeah, but I finished it, so that's not happening.
Smashed back. Absolutely
Mate,
smashed back.
it's gorgeous. Like, I'm glad I picked that one. I mean, I'm sure they're all good, but it's like, I think, what else was there? I think there was was it a lager that I saw from you guys? I think it was a lager and this
we
one.
haven't done a lager yet, so...
No, okay, maybe it's somebody else. They're all sitting next to each other in the shop. How am I meant to know?
Yeah, exactly.
What shop was it?
It was Cartridge Wines.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it probably would have been all pales, to be perfectly honest with you, or might have been a sour or something.
Yes, it might have been a sour. It was hot lager for somebody else. Yeah, but yeah, it was. When are you going to do a lager? Get on it, Carl. God.
So much effort.
Yeah, because as far as I know, like, there's less places to hide in a lager. Like, you got to do it well and not do it at all.
Exactly. And if you haven't got a kit or got the time to do that, then there's not really much point. You have to fully commit to them.
Well, I've said it now. You have to do it.
You get someone like Lost and Grounded who have kind of like fully committed to to being able to do lagers and things like that. They keep bashing out really good lagers. Like one of the benefits of Bristol is we've got so many breweries here, all doing completely different things. That you can always be like, I really want this today, I'll have one of these. I really want this today, I'll have one of these. It's just ridiculous city.
Yeah, we brewed a collaboration with Lost and Grounded at our place 2.5 years ago now. I think it was just after they set up.
Yeah.
And Alex over, and he treats beer as just miraculous. I'm under no illusion that Nanny, who own Lost and Grounded, just like they know what they're doing. When it comes to lagers and pilsners and everything like that, they're pretty much the ones to go to in the UK for that kind of beer.
Yeah.
That's
And again, why we keep seeing them in collaboration with kind of everyone at the moment. They're sort of like hot shit, aren't they? Everyone fucking wants to kind of like chat with them and do something with them. So yeah,
and they're nice people as well, so that helps.
That does help. Yeah. Very much. So we've chatted about our beers. We can sort of move on to our last topic, even though we had loads of topics all through this episode. Really, bouncing from sort of place to place. But I wanted to kind of just touch on a game I played today. Sort of more so because we've been talking about kind of games which respect our time, or something that you can maybe have in like a shorter experience. I've played, and I've got to try and actually remember the name of the game. It's called Love Yourself. Love Yourself? No, it's not called Love Yourself. Steam. Where is it? Steam. Come up. Come on now. Is it called Love
Thyself?
You've had a few beers.
Love Thyself, it might be. Love Thyself.
We've never had this. We've forgotten the name of beers, but never the game. Right.
It is called Love Thyself. It's called Love Thyself, a Horatio story. Yes, you were right. And it is a... it's like God. Oh fuck! I've even forgotten the fucking genre of the fucking game that it's in. Jesus Christ!
Horatio,
3 low percent beers, and I'm already fucking just fucked. Love Thyself, a Horatio story, is by Amplitude Studios, published by Sega. It is almost like a visual novel. Well, it is a visual novel. Oh. It is set in their endless universe. So Amplitude Studios have made several games which kind of span a few different genres, but that all inhabit the same shared universe. And this game, whilst it is a choice-driven visual novel style game that only took me maybe 40-50 minutes, something like that, and is episodic. I didn't realise it was episodic, but at the end it says, wait until we release the game whenever we want to release it for the next part. Was a nice experience, but it's cool how it sort of ties into like this shared universe that they're creating, and you kind of get little bits of like what they're talking about, having played other endless games, knowing sort of a few things, and it's one of those things that I'm kind of finding now that I like these shorter experiences, but actually I like them a little bit more if they're tied in to something else. So, if it's like something like The Walking Dead final season, which I still haven't played yet, I think I'd be more inclined, if I was going to go for an episodic sort of game, I'd be more inclined to go for that than something else, because I'm already tied into invested in the world, invested in the story. Same as when I saw this, I'm like, ooh, I love Endless Legend. I know a little bit about, played a little bit of Endless Dungeon, played a little bit of Endless Space, kind of know a little bit about the shared universe across their games. I want that a little bit more. it's. I don't want to talk about the game too much because it is just a visual novel. You make a few decisions. It's kind of interesting in how it approaches the perception of what you have, versus kind of like what you're doing. Everyone should play it. It's on Steam. It only takes like 40 minutes to play.
And it's free. So
and it's free. It's free game.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was going to ask both of you, do you think that, going ahead with the franchises that you kind of like gravitate towards, that you like, do you think if, a game came out that was linked how closely to a series that you loved, you would gravitate towards that kind of game, or a completely new experience delving into a completely new kind of universe? Do you want exposition through different experiences, or do you just want to try and experience something new every time you play something?
Carl, I open up the floor to you. Dating sim in the Pro Evo universe.
Well, that's it. I mean, I like Pro Evo and I like Final Fantasy, so I think even though them worlds are the same, they differ each time, though, don't they? I mean, like each Pro Evo is a lot different to the previous years, and every Final Fantasy that's come out, it's previous, different to the previous one as well. Yeah. But still, I'm committed to perhaps buying them, even though I don't play them as much as I do. But I still get them, so maybe I'm just focusing on the actual names itself. I mean, I've never. Well, I used to play the first Assassin's Creed. I played the second Assassin's Creed, and it's kind of faded off since then. Yeah. They've been different in the same kind of series of games as well.
Yeah. So would you say Final Fantasy came out with, I don't know, just something similar to what Ben's saying, like a narrative storytelling game, and it was Fantasy VII universe, purely that universe? Do you feel like you would like that was a self-contained story in Final Fantasy VII? I don't know how much you gravitated towards the story rather than mechanics. Would you want to develop it?
I'd probably buy it. It's like, even not like a game franchise, like all the films that came out around the Final Fantasy kind of series and stuff like that as well. I still invested my time in and watched them. So maybe I'm big in the brands, and I don't know what I was.
But for me, I think I'd just rather see something new. Like, it's. I think if a story has already been told, I don't think it serves much to have it told in a different way necessarily, or expand on that. I mean, I was ranting a week ago about canon because I think it's ridiculous. So for me, it's just like, just give me a new story and a new universe. Try something new, and I can see why people absolutely love the appeal of like, oh, it's a different genre of game, but still set in the same universe, giving more exposition and context to what I've already played. I get that, and I see the appeal, but for me, I'd probably just want a different story in a different setting, just completely disparate to what's already come before it. So,
yeah, and I think there's kind of like a balance that you can have with that. We've seen that with the Subsurface Circular and what was the other one? Quarantine Circular games. Two different games, very narrative driven, that are in a shared universe, but are actually set years apart and don't really have much of an impact, if any, on each other, other than a couple of lines of dialogue. the Endless games are kind of tied in with their, it's a bit different when you have, like, say, Lord of the Rings, and you're very prescribed to what you have, and you're like, we're going to set a game where you play as dwarves, but in the Lord of the Rings universe, so you might see certain characters from certain places. Whereas the Amplitude Studios Endless games, they've created a universe so they can do whatever the fuck they want with it. It's not that focused. It's quite broad to be like, this game happens here, but actually this game happens over here, where things have evolved and changed completely differently through that. I think it's maybe one of the things that Mass Effect Andromeda kind of did wrong. They're like, we'll try and tie it into the previous trilogy and make it a little bit kind of different, but we sort of keep the same kind of ethos and all of those sorts of things that the previous games had. They could have done fucking anything, really. They'd finished their trilogy. They could have done what they wanted with the Mass Effect universe being the fucking ultimate word there, that they can go wherever they fucking want. And I like a little bit of both, I think, whereas I'm delving a little bit deeper into a shared lore between a few different games, and I will always gravitate towards like a new experience, a new game. So
but
I kind of need a bit of both.
Yeah, definitely. Like, it's so rewarding, like, to play God of War, which is a completely reimagining of that series, and still have pullbacks to the previous game. So and a lot of things are multimedia, and Halo is apparently meant to have like TV series, and it's got books and everything like that. It's probably comics and web series and everything. So it's like, I understand it, but I like new experiences, and that's why I play a lot of new games. That's why respect the hell out of like Supergiant, who make a new game every time. Different setting, new mechanics. Nice to get, a nice refresh, but, people go on established things. If we have this pretty good, as you say, universe that they've created, people gravitate towards it, then why make that new IP? And even within an IP, you can do so many different. It's like,
what about Oddworld? Age of Odyssey and stuff like that.
I watched something with Lord Lanning, the creator of Oddworld, and that's a weird series. It's like, that's been all over the place, like, I'm looking forward to the new game. Old stuff.
Which would be completely different to anything we've seen.
Lord Lanning's a cool guy.
Like Abe's Odyssey is different to Stranger's Wrath is different to whatever the other one was. Was there another one?
Exodus. That was a previous kind of. I saw him talk at like EGX, and then I just watched a Game Informer interview with him. He's a cool dude. He's just cool. He just doesn't care about anything.
Nice.
You're cool.
That's good. That's what you want in a hero.
When you see like a game, and it's like, I can tell it came from creator, like Metal Gear. Unmistakably Kojima. That's Lord Lanning for you. It's just weird.
I suppose that's what also like sequels and things kind of give us as well. You don't have to go and play The Last of Us 2 when it releases if you don't want to experience anything else kind of in that world. Yes, some of us will feel compelled will feel compelled to be able to play it. But all right, let's take a different game. Like, I played Infamous. I really enjoyed Infamous. It was a fun game. Didn't play the second one. Didn't feel that I needed to delve into that universe kind of any more than I wanted to. Second Son came out. Didn't play it when it came out. Played it when it was at a really reduced kind of rate, and it wasn't necessarily the shared universe or a different story in that universe that I was looking for. It was to repeat the mechanics that the first game had kind of given me in that sense of power and progression through different sort of like superpowers and things like that. I think
Spoilers, all those games are the same.
but they are very similar, yes. I think it very much depends on the, or at least on your first dive into a universe.
Yes.
So if the first game you play into a universe, or the first comic you read, or the first TV series that you watch draws you in, at least for me, I'm more likely to then want to seek out a new experience or a new story within that shared universe. I like the Walking Dead comic. I like the Walking Dead TV show. When Telltale said that, I'm like, yep, I'm there. I'm going to play this game. Seems cool.
That's fair.
I like Batman. I've read a few of the comics. I loved the Arkham video game series. When the Telltale game came out, I didn't need any more Batman.
Yeah.
So I didn't play it until it was free through PS Plus. You know,
It's my favourite Batman interpretation.
Exactly.
I know.
And it gave you a completely different experience to anything you've had before with Batman.
Yeah,
So
Val Kilmer.
it's no, mate, Michael Keaton.
We won't get into this.
Yeah. You don't need that one.
Yeah, let's go down a rabbit hole. We do not need to, especially for guests. We do not need to.
Well,
go.
yes. So to round out this point, Carl, if you were to find that, say like a franchise that you really enjoyed, whether that is a game franchise or like a TV show, a comic, whatever,
Or beer.
was or a
Beer series.
A beer series, exactly. Cloudwater version 14, the game, was coming out. Would you do you think you'd be more drawn towards picking up something that was within a franchise that you're invested in, or are you more about like a game respecting your time, about a short experience, or about like a party game, something that you can play with your partner?
It's a loaded question.
It's not.
Yeah, it is. I think game developers keep reinventing their games on new platforms, making them different. Then, it will keep me invested. With the party games and stuff like that, I think the way that I do it with different genres is a very good way to make me pick what I want to do, rather than an all-in-one kind of thing. And it's half of the stuff that's on there, because with party games you're really going to pull them out when you're drunk and when you got friends around anyway. So it's not going to be, you're not missing out stuff. It's a tough one, really. Yes and no is my answer.
And that's fair. It's okay. It's all right to kind of be a little bit half, a little bit out. It's sort of, I guess it's very, it's kind of very personal as well, and you're never really going to know until that game or that franchise kind of comes along and says, here is something, and for some people they will very much jump into anything that franchise comes out with. If you're a big Lord of the Rings fan, then you're probably very excited for the Amazon Prime TV show that's going to be coming out. If you're a Walking Dead fan, you'd be excited about whatever The Walking Dead is doing next. I guess it's a little bit more that you try and consume anything around that franchise if you are like super invested in them. I think maybe games don't quite give you that gratification that, say, like a TV show does, having it every week, that a comic may do, having it sort of like every month. It's maybe the frequency that kind of keeps people away maybe from games of being invested as much, perhaps.
But also at the same time, because of the way that games have actually developed and how they're made, it does take a longer period of time, so a lot of people do forget. Yeah. As well. So it could be like a couple of years, it could be 6 months in between each kind of game, really. whereas beer and comics, it could be pretty much quite regular. So there's more chance of people forgetting a game and diving back into it. Well, it's like series, isn't it? Really, like TV programs and seasons, and like Game of Thrones. It's been about 2 years or so. It's been about 2 years since like last season was on. So I know that a load of people rewatched a lot of the seasons beforehand to get back on like to the new season. So.
Yeah, I suppose like Game of Thrones is almost a little bit of an outlier in the kind of like the cultural zeitgeist, I think, compared to a lot of other sort of franchises that people that maybe aren't that invested or didn't really like kind of fantasy settings kind of gel with Game of Thrones because there was like fucking beheadings and tits everywhere, like. So suddenly, like people are like, sure, I'm involved, brilliant. Versus other kind of like fantasy genres which play it maybe like a little bit more safely. But you're right that you know, time kind of does either make or break you, really. And you know why people want games to release alongside like a film release tied into the same franchise, because they can build off of like a film being out for like a month and being like, here's a game. Everyone who suddenly likes this and has it in their minds and they're talking about it all the time, here's something else to kind of jump into.
Because a World War Z game came out this week, and that film was like 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. The book was even longer than that.
Weird.
Yep. Haven't heard much about that game, really.
It's like, it's like putting out a game that's like Gladiator. But that's just Assassin's Creed Odyssey, isn't it?
That game. Oh, the film or the TV show?
Oh, as in We Are the Gladiators. I'd play the hell out of that, to be honest. Put Wolf in
It's been like 50, it's been like 20 years since Gladiators. I'd play that
like
game.
30. I'd play that game.
If I can be Shadow or Wolf, I'm there. Done.
Or Jet.
Yeah, Wolf.
Yeah, Wolf was badass.
This is where everyone that's listening to this is like, what is Wolf doing now? I'm definitely going to be looking at what he's doing now after we finish. Let's finish there so we can all go and Google what Wolf from Gladiators is doing now. We've all had lots of beers. As the guest, Carl, I'm going to come to you first. Is there a beer that jumped out to you as your favourite for the week? Were they all kind of, you know, up there? Did you enjoy all of them?
I really enjoyed the second Shift Brewing. Czech style Pilsner. That was pretty on point for me, to be fair. Double barrel. Yeah, all of them was good, actually. But I think after the day that I had, I needed a really easy drinking BV, lower shade BV kind of Pilsner lager, and that settled me into the night quite well.
Nice, yeah. M6 is not a great motorway at the best times.
No, it's not.
Good. Lucy,
Yes.
which beer did you prefer?
I had already had Meet Me in the City, like, even though it's a Deya beer. I was like, oh yeah, it's still a Deya beer. And then I was like, oh my god, Beerbliotek. We're young, we smell good, and we're alive. Great title, but it's just like, the orange, it was just such a well-balanced beer. Like, the zest just right at the end, just balancing with the malt and the bitterness. But, mate, for one hop that is Citra. I'm not just saying that because you're here. That is a really good beer, because the wrapped in Citra, that's my favourite of the week. It went down so quickly. It was just juicy, it was soft, it was well balanced because it had a lot of fruit at the start, and then I got that floral and bitterness at the end, and that was good.
Thanks.
Honestly, I wouldn't say it was close. I'm not gonna lie, it was close between you guys and Beerbliotek. But to be honest, maybe if I knew what hops Beerbliotek used, it was like, oh, they just use Citra too? Well, maybe you're on par. Knowing that you just use one hop and you get in that like range of flavours and that whole like profile, just
Yeah.
and the fact that the bitterness and the floralness like came like 20 seconds after, yeah, it's a wrapped in Citra for me.
Nice. I'm kind of gonna jump on the bandwagon, and the Twisted Barrel Ale Wilde Child was my favourite this week. Again,
Yes.
not because you're here, Carl, but I think the Balck Iris, the Orange Gobblin, was just a little too lacking for me. A little too weak, perhaps. 4.8%. But I kind of expect something that's maybe a little bit pared back in its flavour, but the orange kind of just came through just a little bit, and there wasn't a huge amount more going on with it. The You Never Can Tell from Cosmic, the New England IPA, really odd flavour profile, like nutty and piney, really kind of odd, like heaty kind of bitterness to it, like a very odd kind of flavour going on there with whatever they're sort of using in their mix. But I think with the Wild at Heart, it was just super easy to drink. It went down definitely the quickest out of all of the beers that I've had tonight. I'm not much of a fan of puree in beers. Often I find it kind of a little bit too sweet, a little bit too sort of like sickly, trying to push just a little bit too much. There's a few breweries that use puree that I know that I've had several from them, and I stay away from them a little bit. But actually, with this, it doesn't push that sweetness too much. Like, you have that mango, you have a little bit of hit of sweetness, and then it gets into that slight kind of, edging on sour, edging on slightly dankness that mango gives you. It showcases that mango flavour, and it leads very nicely into the stone fruits, into the peach flavour. That it just wasn't I kind of associate puree with just like a heightened element of those flavours. Like, we want a mango beer, we put mango puree in it, it's mango in your face. This just didn't give me that. It was very easy to fucking drink, and it was just really nice. And it is the one that, out of the three of them that I've had, that I would instantly just pick again and drink now. So quite easy for me this week.
Thanks.
No, you're welcome. Like, I really enjoyed that beer. I'm glad we had the same beer, so I kept that to last. Because that's been the highlight.
Nice.
Thanks.
So
I really enjoyed learning about gaming with you.
No, like it's been fascinating just to. It sounds crazy, but we are a video game and beer podcast. But I never quite think of the two. Like, there's so many similarities.
Yeah.
Glad that you right at the back, because every time he's talking about beer, I was like, oh god, that's like video games and vice versa. It's like, yeah, I mean, anything that's creative can draw parallels, but there's so many similarities. Yeah, no, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, it's been really fun, man.
Thank you.
So, Carl, thank you very much for coming on. If people want to get hold of you, if they want to chat to you, they want to tell you what games that you should play, or point you in the direction of other beers, how do they do that?
Best bet is just to contact me on Twitter, really. It's at the bearded one. So number 1, and that is in THA.
Yes. Yeah, you're doing the rounds on Twitter. Always enjoy seeing what you got to talk about. So. You're a sage man, Carl. You're a sage man.
If people want to get hold of Twisted Barrel, how can they do that?
I mean, you can either come down to a tap room. I mean, we're open Wednesday, Thursday 2 till 10, Sunday 2 till 10, and then Friday and Saturday 12 till 12. So always welcome for a beer.
Yeah, because when I knew you were coming on, I was like, you're like the only brewery that's around that's open Wednesday. Thursday. You know, like,
Yeah,
you're gonna have to come back.
we're a little walk out the probably about a 15-minute walk out from the train station.
Yeah.
Pretty much if you get a train, but it's an easy walk. Pubs on the way over as well, so if you want to
That
drink,
helps.
Yeah. I will make my way down there. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, or you can contact us on Twist Barrel or on Twitter. I'm pretty sure we're on Facebook as well. So yeah, just feel free to check our beer list, what activities we got on at the Tap House, and pop down.
Nice.
Nice.
Lucy, how do people talk to you if they want to?
It's Juicy Loose 9 everywhere. Twitter, Tat, Instagrams, Xbox, PlayStation, Steam. Yeah, everywhere.
Nice. I am at Nova_47 almost everywhere. We are at TackedUp_cast as a collective everywhere on Twitter, on Instagram. You can go to outoflives.net to look at articles that other people post within our group, to listen to other podcasts like the Grievous Movie Show, or go to the Tacked Up Instagram, which you've been using more and more.
You've been on it.
And well, yeah, a little bit.
I'm really impressed. Like, really impressed.
I don't know what it is about Instagram versus Twitter. I think I have instant gratification because we get a lot more engagement.
Yeah, people like it's like
I'll
it's
post
like,
on here again, sure.
I didn't
People love this
post
shit.
for like 2 years, and then somehow I have 100 followers. So, who are these people?
I'm sure we could get into a conversation about Instagram versus Twitter, but that may be for another episode. So, for another week, we have been tacked up. Carl, as the guest, have you anything to finish on?
No.
Just buy his beers, all of his beers.
Yes.
There, I'll plug for you.
Thanks.
Done.
Then it's not shameless.